the Bachelor tougher now because of social media? Did things get leaked
I mean,
out?
everything's tougher. You're talking to two people who have rely on social media for a living, but at the same time, I do think it will be what ultimately ruins the world.
Today's podcast is brought to you by our friends at SeatGeek. Use my code Jason and get $20 off your first order. Guys, what's up? Welcome to the podcast. Yes, we're here with our guest this week, Nick Viall from The Bachelor. What's up?
How you doing, Jason?
So good to see you here.
Good to see you.
Brand new book coming out right here, October 4th. Guys, this is out by when you're seeing this. Don't text your ex happy birthday and other advice on love, sex, and dating. I did a deep dive on you last night. Really took you in, man.
How did it go?
I think that you're the best Bachelor they've ever had. I think you'd be tough to beat because you're very thoughtful. You're more than just a pretty face, and I'm
blushing.
I was really satisfied by what your whole thing, and I think it's really impressive that you went on a reality show and you've parlayed it into podcast and all kinds of appearances and acting and you did good.
It's been fun. I've enjoyed it. I appreciate all the nice things you said.
It's not easy to go on there and put yourself on Dancing with the Stars. I mean, like all that shit is so hard to do.
I had fun with Dancing with the Stars.
I bet
after you go on The Bachelor, everything's gravy in terms of the reality TV world.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so The Bachelor's the hardest.
Yeah, I mean, it's psychological warfare.
The way you said that, the way that sentence came out of your mouth, it was like you've been in Nam. It was
not to compare it to war, but like emotionally, they really put you through it.
I wouldn't like that. I've been on a reality show. I've been on a couple of like stand-up reality shows, and I did not like it at all. They would come in and they would go like, well, Tiffany said this about you. And I'd go, oh, okay, doesn't that make you mad? And I'm like, no. And then the next week I was eliminated.
That's probably why.
That's probably why.
You get mad.
Yeah. And do you think that you had something about you that made you good at the psychological warfare? Were you picked on in school or anything like that? Or?
I had a year of being bullied. That happened in middle school. I didn't like middle school too much.
What happened? What did they pick on you about?
I had a group of guys who teased me for being gay.
Okay.
I liked the same girl my other buddy liked, and this was like 7th grade.
So you were gay.
So it was like puberty age. So
yeah,
I got teased so much that I had like actual like. I was like, I don't know. Maybe I am. I didn't really know what it meant at the time, right?
Yeah.
And so, I really went through it there. And I don't know, maybe that's why I definitely, I have a lot of friends in the LGBTQ community. I feel I'm proud to consider myself an ally to that community. And just because I again, whatever, I'm a straight guy, but just constantly being like harassed about that it's definitely a transformative period of my life. But also like in terms of reality TV, I like to be liked, but I not so much that I have a hard time not being myself.
Yes. You've done a really good job at being yourself.
And I have a hard time, for sometimes better, sometimes worse. I have a hard time editing myself in terms of my opinion. When it comes to reality TV, they certainly like that, because, like you, I was like, I don't like sweat the small stuff or get mad about situations, but I'm like, I'll tell you what I think.
Right.
And I was very quick I'm like, all right, I'll tell you what I think.
I think I dealt with the same thing. People would call me gay and stuff too. And I think when you're sensitive at all, or if you're like intuitive, or if you can recognize situations, a lot of guys can't do that. And so they're like, oh, you're gay.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I liked stripes. and I like dancing, and it was like that simple.
Stripes, the movie with Bill Murray.
That's a great movie, but I mean, like fashion wise, like, you know. But to your point, like I definitely more sensitive. I was making a joke, but I always liked, you know, I love sports.
Yeah,
always been a super athletic, but other than being a diehard sports fan and being an athlete, that was probably the most you know, traditionally masculine thing about me. Like I've never been into hunting or cars, and I've never really cared about kind of those macho things. And maybe it's because of my relationship with my mom, or the fact that I have a ton of sisters. I've always been very comfortable around women. I've always had a lot of women friends. And so, yeah, growing up in Wisconsin, that didn't always, wasn't always well received by some of my male peers. Especially in the middle school era. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so you're working in Chicago.
Yeah.
And you're working in sales.
I was.
Right, 2014.
2014.
And who says to you, you should go on The Bachelor, or how'd you get the idea?
My buddy's wife, who they'll be visiting tomorrow.
Wonderful.
She was watching Sean Lowe's season, OG Bachelor from back in the day. I was familiar with the show. I'd watch it with some friends, but honestly, I'm not a big reality TV fan outside of the shows I guess I got into from being on it, but I never watched it back then. I certainly was familiar with it. I had caught it in passing, and I was teasing my buddy's wife for watching it and kind of like, oh, what are you watching? This is bullshit.
Right,
blah, 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 blah. She was like, shut up, and kind of jokingly decided that it'd be funny if she signed me up for it. Kind of without me knowing. She kind of joked that she was going to do it, and I was like, ha, 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 whatever. And then I randomly got a call 10 months later.
Did you send a tape in? Is that what you do?
I didn't even think she did that. She just sent a photo and wrote a little bio, and then I got a random call. And
they fly you to LA to test?
At first, no, they were like, I was living in Chicago, and they're like, we're going to be in Chicago. We'd love to meet you. And at the time, I didn't really take it all that seriously. I loved my job at the time. I was working for a company called Salesforce, and I had been working there for a year and a half, and really liked it, and really felt like I found a really great career path with a good company. And so at the time, I was like, I didn't think I was going to do it, but I was more like, well, it's going to be cool just to see what this the casting process was like.
Yeah.
I was a guy in Wisconsin, rather, wasn't the kid.
And what is the casting process like?
First, I met They kind of do regional visits, right? So the casting team came out. I met with them. They kind of put you on tape. They have a little local PA they'll hire out, and they'll interview.
What's an example of a question they would ask you?
Oh, they just so they're just trying to warm you up and see if you're good at talking about your feelings. And I wasn't at first. Classically, I think they still have the tape where I sat there and I audibly said this is awkward, which probably didn't set me up for success. And then they moved me into this room, this kind of boardroom vibe, and it was the head of casting and her I guess second in command, and I could tell right away that they liked me.
Yeah.
And then they started asking me more questions about so what do you do for work, and is this something could you take a leave of absence? I was like, do you guys pay? They're like, no. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna be really honest, I kind of showed up out of curiosity.
Yeah.
I'm not going to quit my job to do this. I have no idea if they would be cool with it. I honestly doubt it.
Right.
So I was just really upfront with them. And they're like, well, we'd still like to fly you out to LA. And at that point, I'd never been to LA. So I'm like, oh, cool, free trip to LA. This will be fun. Yeah. And so I did that. And that process took a month or two. And I got the sense that I'm like, I actually think they might ask me to do this show.
Yeah.
And so that made it feel a little more real. And then I had some people at work that I trusted. So I was just kind of like, hey, so have you heard of The Bachelor? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, well, I think they might ask me to go on. And to my surprise, everyone's response was like, well, you got to fucking do that. And and I had some good relationships with people in charge. And thankfully, to their credit and my benefit, they were very supportive of like work-life balance. And so I kind of like, finally when they asked me, I just said, listen, I just want you to know my prayer is my job. I'm not going to quit my job, but I have this opportunity.
Yeah.
And if you guys are cool with it, like, I was like, more, what do you think? And they were like, hey, we like you. You're good at your job. Ultimately, like, we're a hiring, growing company and we know you're good. So like, yeah, we'll bring you back. Go do this thing.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Guys, quick break in the action to let you know that today's podcast is brought to you by the one and only SeatGeek. Yes! What an amazing company. They've been sponsoring this podcast. They were the first ones to come around and say, hey, Jay Nash, you got something on your hands here. I just want to say thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring All Good Things. This is our 6th ad, I think, with them. And I want to thank you guys for supporting SeatGeek because you guys have been going there and downloading the SeatGeek app and getting $20 off your first order with SeatGeek by using the code Jason. SeatGeek is amazing. They have tickets in every city. Go see a music event. Go see a sporting event. Football season is here. Basketball season is here. Hockey. It's all here. It's the fall, and you're going to want SeatGeek so you can go out and see some live events and be cool like me and make dreams come true like the night that I took Susie to see Drake. Oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm seeing Drake for the first time. That's what she said, and that's what she sounded like. Go to the link in the description right now and download the SeatGeek app and get $20 off your first order with my code Jason. I love you guys, and thanks to SeatGeek for sponsoring this video. Okay, back to the podcast.
Okay, so you get there, you're on the show, you're on the Bachelorette. That's where you start, right? Okay, you're there. It's 30 guys.
Yeah, I think it was like 25.
25 guys. You show up. Obviously, that's intimidating.
Oh, yeah.
Like to be with a bunch of guys that are all alphas, or whether some are alphas, some aren't. I'm sure that the 25 guys they pulled were no slouches either. All good-looking guys, muscular, right? Everything?
Definitely all good looking, all muscular for sure.
Yeah. What's that like? What's that like the...
Well, to be honest, it was like interesting because I was more nervous going in.
Yeah.
Because I assumed that that they were casting the best of the best.
Yeah.
I really didn't know TV or anything at this point.
Right.
So I'm thinking they're going to be casting people with these like insane jobs, these like high profile attorneys, like you're like true most eligible bachelors who are like super good looking and intelligent. And I had these like great expectations of my competition. This is all to say, and I was very nervous, but I remember getting in the limo, and some of those guys are very much like that, but there's also, The Bachelor is notorious for casting really good looking, very tall, awkward men.
Uh-huh.
And as soon as, I'll never forget this guy in my limo, super good looking guy, model face. And I remember looking at him like, fuck, man. It's like, I don't know. This fucking curly hair. And it's like, and then he opened his mouth. And I remember being like, well, I'm going to beat you. And it's just a lot of like awkward guys who.
So that now you have a chance because you can talk.
Yeah, I could talk.
It's really fun.
I could connect and and I could hold a conversation and I immediately, and like you could tell, like there was another guy in my limo. His name's Markel, and we like kind of looked at each other, and I was like, "You're legit. You're cool. Like you're definitely my competition, but you're also like just a good, solid guy." And like these other guys were just like, I quickly realized that while wonderful people, they weren't necessarily the cream of the crop.
Yes,
some of them had jobs, some of them didn't, et cetera, et cetera. And I guess because I psyched myself out so much in terms of what my competition would be, I got a little less nervous once I met all the guys. I was like, oh, I might have a shot here. And I don't know, that was kind of, to be honest, my mentality.
It really is. It's a good lesson for somebody who's watching who's younger. It's like, you can have all the muscles, you could be so good looking, you can have all the money, but if you can't connect with a man or a woman, whatever you're doing, even in friendship, in business, in anything, you have a shot. You really do have a shot. You don't have to be the best looking guy. You don't have to have the biggest muscles.
Yeah, you just the art of conversation is really important in that world. If for no other reason, like in life, you can be hot and awkward and just, make out. She'd be like, I got nothing to talk about. Should we just like suck face? And that usually works. And you realize on The Bachelor that's a bunch of people who are used to going, should we just make out? But if you can't hold a conversation and you can't take your clothes off, then you are forced to talk. And unless it's the fantasy suite at the very end of the season, you have to connect. And, you know, I don't think you don't realize this at the time, but you know, if you're one of the 25 guys, like the Bachelorette or the Bachelor, right? Think about it. Like their job, they have to have night one. They don't even get to talk to everyone, but like 20 some conversations, right? Yeah. The Bachelorette's already nervous, right? And now you have to have 20 first dates in one night. Now imagine how exhausted you are. But the people like who are there for the first time, they're just as nervous, and they're thinking, well, I'll just let the Bachelorette carry the conversation. You know, they sit down and just kind of like.
Yeah. And girls don't like that.
Like, what do you want to talk about? You know, and so.
And girls don't like lugheads. Yeah. And they don't like guys that sit back.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? I know you know. I think you know a lot about relationships. Tell me if I'm wrong.
I think
That's my experience.
I think people in general like confidence, regardless of gender. Because when I was the Bachelor, same thing. Like I connected mostly with the women who, instead of just sitting back and like hoping I would drive the conversation,
yes,
they would want to get to know me.
You're right.
You know, they would meet me at my level, so to speak. You know, they didn't act starstruck. They were just like, oh, you're a person, I'm a person. Let's have a conversation. And I was like, you're great. I'm gonna keep you around. So I think it's just more about. Just having that confidence to connect and ask questions and not rely on the awkward makeout.
So you see this first Bachelorette. You see her, whoever she is. I don't remember who she was, but I'm sure you do.
Her name was Andy.
Andy, right. Okay. And your thought is, I'm trying to put myself in that position. I'd probably go, yeah, she's pretty. Let's see if we have a connection, right? Is that basically what happened?
Yeah, I mean, I showed up pretty skeptical in a sense. Like people always talk about right reasons. I showed up, honestly, because I'm like, you get to travel. And at that point in my life, I had been to Mexico a few times. I didn't have a ton of like traveling experience. And I was like, I'm going to get to go to Europe or Asia, it seems like. They go to some pretty cool destinations. And that's honestly like why I showed up.
But you weren't necessarily looking for love.
I was open to it.
Yeah.
Right? And so I made a conscious choice once I said yes, as skeptical as I was. I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to do this thing, I might as well embrace whatever it is. Uh-huh. And I actively chose to, like, embrace it and kind of, like, be here. And I got sucked in pretty fast.
You did?
Yeah. I mean, she gave me the first impression rose. I don't know how familiar you are with the show, but night one, they give
she was into you the first night.
Yeah.
Or you were one of the guys she was
into.
And
it validated the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And I like to call them validation roses because that's what it is. And I remember being like, yeah, no, I love you.
Dude, that's so funny because I would do the same thing. I'd be like, I don't really care about her. Oh, you gave me a rose?
It's like, no, this is love can happen here. Yeah, and I dug her. Like I was physically attracted to her. I thought at the time, I think she was a lawyer. Andy's a very intelligent person, so she had a lot of characteristics that I was naturally drawn to at the time. Sure. So that made it easy for me to connect with her, and I was genuinely into her.
Right. Yeah. And so then, what happens on that season? Did you go all the way to the end?
All the way to the end.
All the way to the end, but she didn't choose you.
She did not choose me.
And what'd that feel like?
Not great. Yeah,
not great from the standpoint that you liked her, or not great from the standpoint that you lost.
Both. Reflecting back, it's one of those things. I remember the challenging part of that world is you don't really know what's real, right? Because I remember having the active thought. I was talking to producers, like, I know I like her. There's no question I like her. I just don't know how real this is. And I don't know, as someone who I know I'm really competitive, I don't know how much my interest or attraction to her has to do with my genuine feelings or that I'm winning.
Unreal.
Know? And like, even though I was self-aware about it,
you just fucking zeroed in on an entire genre.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm cutting you off. Go ahead.
It's okay.
You just zeroed in on like an entire genre so well. That is so fascinating.
Yeah.
You don't know.
You just don't know.
And you were smart enough to know that you didn't know.
Yeah. But I knew I didn't know, but then I made the choice to just decide it was the former. Yeah. I was like, I don't know, but fuck it.
Yeah,
I'm just going to go for it. And so when I got to the end, and I've told this story a few times, but I very much remember the morning of, and I woke up, then I went to bed like kind of worried, trust your gut, because like she said some things and I'm like, I don't know, she might not pick me. Yep. But then like, I was like, oh, I'm getting in my head. And I woke up the next morning being like, fuck, I think I'm getting engaged today. Like, this was wild. And then I remember thinking, fuck, what are my friends going to say? This is nuts. And then I remember I was in the Dominican Republic and my bathroom, like I had this nice bathroom and I had like the toilet closet, So I'm in this little room, there's this little window and I'm looking out the window, I'm peeing. And I remember thinking to myself, would it just be easier if she picked Josh? Because I was like, I know I like her. I don't know how I feel, but like, am I really doing this? This is insane, because it's one of those things. You get engaged, but you realize that like, hey, it's not marriage and like, there's a lot to learn and fuck it. I'm just going to take this risk and let the cards fall where they may. And then I was supposed to like, Neil Lane is like, provides the rings and is a part of this process where you meet with Neil and you pick out your final two, you pick out the rings and they're like, oh, you're going to meet Neil. Like, great. And then I opened the door and instead of Neil, it was her. And I knew immediately in that split second, she's about to break up with me. And I remember very vividly for like a split second feeling relief. And then immediately heartbreak, shame, sadness, and all those things like took over. So that was my thought process.
What a wild ride.
Yeah.
That's really, really something. You really took us through it.
And it was relief just about like not having to get engaged, but it was, I felt sadness. I liked her at the time. Yeah.
Okay. So that's what you mean by psychological warfare.
Yeah. You don't know what's real. You don't know what to trust. You can be as self-aware as possible and still not really know what you're doing. And it's a lot of like deciding to say, fuck it. And not know if that's in your best interest.
Yeah. What do you think's made the show so popular?
Like love is relatable to everyone.
Yeah.
Gay, straight, black, white, old, young. Like everyone relates to the desire of having a human connection. And I call it the swingers moment. Are you familiar with the movie Swingers?
Yeah.
Yeah, great movie.
Love that movie, yeah.
And there's that scene, Jon Favreau meets the girl at the bar, and then he like leaves like 30 voicemails on her answering machine.
100%, yeah, the end.
And I say that because like people like to watch The Bachelor, essentially the snark on the people who go on the show, right? And I think we do that because we find peace in realizing that other people like make these mistakes just like us. But it's just easier to see that in someone else. And I think it's very relatable to see people make fools of themselves for the purposes of love and relationships. Yeah. And that just never gets old.
Are you still doing stuff with The Bachelor?
Part of my show, the Viall Files, I recap it. And so to that end, I'm still associated with the show, and I'll occasionally interview some of the bigger stars of the show. If I think they have a compelling story.
They didn't want to make you the host?
No. And I pitched myself though.
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah.
I read that.
Jesse's great. And I think, Jesse has a relationship with ESPN. And quite frankly, to be candid, I think the things I would have loved to do as a host, I don't think they're quite interested in having.
What's that?
Like as someone who like talks openly about relationships and dating, I mean, quite frankly, everything I talk about in this book is literally the opposite of what they would want you to do on The Bachelor.
Tell me, give me an example. I like that.
Well, I think you should take time and get to know someone and ask questions. And I think you should be cognizant of not just hoping that someone likes you, but focus on whether you like them and not give in to your ego and things like that. And that's literally the opposite of The Bachelor. In fact, I just watched the premiere of Bachelor in Paradise. Uh-huh. And then, Jesse, the host, so, he gets everyone together and he goes, find love or go home. It's like, it's very much like a threat in a way of like, you must find love. If you don't find love, you're just a fucking loser. I just don't talk about those things. And I love, listen, Jesse's there to facilitate the show. And as the host of the show, listen, the less you know, the more you react to the unknown. And so he does a great job of that show. I think I'd love to have the cast have a little bit more mentorship along the show, but I don't know if that's the recipe they want, right? And
you're not going to say, guys, why don't you take a few months and come back and shoot the end.
Yeah. And listen, if I had gotten the opportunity, I would have adjusted, but ultimately Jesse's a fantastic host. I think he's doing a great job. I think he's everything they were looking for. And I think it was a seamless transition from
I don't
Chris
think
Harrison.
Just talking to you for this short amount of time, I don't think it's right for you. It's not who you are.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it would have been a great opportunity. I'm thankful for the time they gave me, but everything tends to work out.
And now you do a lot of relationship advice on the podcast, right?
Yeah, one of our shows also is a segment called Ask Nick, where people will call in.
What's your favorite question you've gotten, or who have you helped that you liked, or anything interesting stick out to you?
Oh, but it's all interesting. I mean, shoot, today, we had someone someone was adopted, and then her adopted mother had reached out, and she was having problems with her, and she wasn't sure, and her adopted mother's dying of cancer. And she was asking my advice on how to handle that relationship. People wanting to ask out their physical therapist, something as simple as that.
They wanted to ask out.
I had a girl last year who was dating a man who said that he was like, he had a roommate.
Yeah.
And his roommate was a woman.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, cool, I'm dating a progressive man who's like mature enough to have a roommate who's a woman. Yeah. Turns out that was his wife. Stuff like that. Yeah. And so
what did you say?
What did I say?
Tell her?
I mean, the truth is, a lot of what I talk about, it's a lot of the similar stuff. It's not so much I'm trying to give people advice as when it comes to relationships and dating, and I learned this through my own mistakes. I talk about ego a lot, right? I read this book called The Power of Intentions by Dr. Wayne Dwyer after I got cheated on by my then fiance in like 2008. There's a similar book called The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Very similar concepts. And it really taught me a lot about ego and obviously the role it plays in your choices. And I talk a lot about that as well, just because.
You're talking about ego, like I'm dating somebody and I think I can do better or something like that?
Sure, that could be one of them. Yeah. Or, ego is the reason why we give so many people second and third and fourth chances when they've never given us a reason to give them one chance,
Tell me about that. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, a lot of people are focused on being liked rather than going on a date. Most people, especially if, let's say you're on a dating app, right? And you're swiping and all of a sudden you match with someone and you're like, wow, hot. Read their bio. They like to travel. They like to laugh. We're super compatible. And so you go on a date and you're immediately like, oh, God, I hope they like me. You're thinking to yourself, like, if they look how their pictures are, I'm obsessed. And you walk in, you meet them, and they're hotter in person, and they tell a couple jokes, and you're like, oh, funny too. And immediately all you really care about is, I hope they like me too. And yet you know nothing about them, right? And that's really just your ego just saying, well, I don't really care if we know them. Your ego wants to be validated. This wants to be liked by everyone. And so when we do that, we run the risk of investing in people who won't make us a priority, right? Because our ego doesn't care about being a priority. Again, our ego cares about being validated. So that's why people can get ghosted or get cheated on, and we give them second chances, or be stuck in these situationships that last forever when the person doesn't give us any upfront expectations and constantly confuses us. And when we actually think about our feelings, we're not thinking about, this person makes me happy and sad and cared for, and I trust them, I feel safe around them. In reality, it's just like, well, if you thought about how they make you feel, other than you tell yourself you like them, you're just like, I'll be honest, I'm confused all the time. Yeah. I'm constantly mad at them. I'm sad. I don't even know if they like me. Yeah. But all I want for them is to like me back, and that's just your ego. And I think most of the time in dating relationships, we spend a lot of time prioritizing that, and we confuse that. Partly because, again, we just all have massive egos, and partly because the medium of the world has taught us to prioritize that. I write about this in my book, but think about the movie The Notebook. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
It's amazing. I love the movie. But those are just insanely too toxic people. Noah's a fuckboy.
Yeah.
He's just out there having a bunch of sex. You know, he's dating this woman named Martha. Right. She's over there every night. They're hooking up. Yeah. You know, meanwhile, Allie's out there. He's tasting her. You know, like Martha was probably just like, you know, and Noah's just sitting there being like, sorry, we can't date. You know, my friend died in a war. I'm sorry, we can't date. I have to buy this house. Yes. I'm sorry, we can't date. Like, my first girlfriend fucked me up. Yeah. He's like, but do you want to come over tonight? Yeah, like, hook up? You know what I'm saying? Like, and so, but The Notebook, it's this romantic movie. And I say this, and like, it's still a great movie. Sure. But at the end of that movie, and like, say, Sex and the City, right? Yep. They end up together. So, like, what does that teach us? It teaches us that, like, really, like, it doesn't matter, because if you fight through whatever toxic situation you have, doesn't matter how you treat each other, it doesn't matter how you treat other people, as long as you end up together, it's all worth it. Wow. And so we have that mindset all the time, and we tell ourselves the more we have to fight, the more then that makes the love that much special. But like, that's never really how it works out.
Do you believe in one person till the end of time?
No, I believe there's zillions of people we can be compatible with, and we got to find people who are willing to prioritize us.
It's funny. I just met somebody, and it's rocked my world, and I'm like old, like, and I could figure out something this late in life. I met somebody who I'm dating her now, and she's the first person that I ever met. She came to me one night. We were on a date. She was like, "Oh, I did our charts, whatever."
Oh, like astrology?
Astrology. Yeah. And I'm like, I kind of believe in it, or I kind of don't.
Sure.
Like, there are some things that I see that are pretty good. And she was all excited. She's like, I have to tell you something. I've got to show you this. I've got to show you this. I was like, okay, what? She's like, we're absolutely perfect for each other. We're both Geminis, we have the same moon, or whatever it was. And she was saying, like, you know, I'm going to let you do whatever you want, you know, have your own time, and you're going to let me do whatever I want. And meaning, like, and I never had that before. I've always hated relationships, because anyone I was ever with was a burden to me. It was somebody who was like, you have to go do this, and I don't want to, you know what I mean? Or if I said, I need to go do this for me, they would be like, no, you know? And so that really blew my mind. I was like, wow. I was like, that exists?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, there's someone for everyone. And like, I think sometimes we don't spend enough time, kind of like to your point, of like thinking about like what makes us happy. Mm-hmm. Like, as people, like, how do we feel fulfilled? Mm-hmm. And like, a partner is not going to fill those holes, but they can help you like reach those goals. And I think sometimes we just like choose our partners based off these superficial things, how they look or how they act or what our friends think of them and things like that. And like, here you are, like, you needed someone who was confident in themselves, like, you know, give you the space to do yourself.
Yep.
And like, it sounds like maybe your love language isn't quality time as much as like, say, other things. Like, I'm sure you like spending time with each other, but like other people need some other, like maybe need more time together. And like, you finally found someone who kind of matches, like, that's like, it's a compatibility thing.
Yeah.
I think it's funny. We talk about compatibility all the time, but I think very few people prioritize compatibility when picking the person they want to date.
Very few people, what?
Prioritize compatibility. You know, like actual compatibility.
They go for looks.
Like, do we work?
Yes.
You know, like.
Yes.
Because like, yeah, I mean, when I was younger, it was more like love conquers all, you know, you know, I'll fight through it, you know, and
you met your new girlfriend. She DM'd you, right? Is that right?
She's in my DMs. Yeah.
She slid your DMs.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, I'm thankful. She's great. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm lucky to have her, and you
guys have been dating for a couple years now, right?
Yeah, a couple years, and you know, obviously, like, certainly she's beautiful, and I love all that stuff.
How is she different than all the women you met on The Bachelor?
Well, she's different from anyone I've met, period, in the sense that, I mean, she's really truly confident in herself, and we don't really compete on any level, and I've never really had that before. And she's just a really confident person who seems seemingly insecure. She's very communicative. And I think we're very quick to like be willing to talk about things that are bothering us and check in. And yeah, and so I feel very safe around her, which is a quality I didn't prioritize when I was younger, in terms of feeling safe enough to express myself and work through problems. not be reactive to disappointment and things like that. And so those are all things that I learned that I need for myself in relationships. And thankfully she has that. And also she's just a joy to be around. Everyone likes her, it's,
Yeah, I watched you guys on a podcast.
yeah, I mean, she's just this very charming person and very,
Is that hard putting the relationship out there? Because I went into the comments and I was like, fuck these people. Like, I watched the podcast, you're on this Shandy podcast.
oh dear, yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, that was the first one we did.
And then I went into the comments and I was like, because I had a relationship that was online, and it's probably my own trigger, but it's tough. It's just like, I got so upset to read it.
Yeah, I mean, like, thankfully, being a part of Bachelor Nation, it toughens you up.
Yeah.
And my friend Charlene and Andy, they're part of Bachelor Nation, those fans. And listen, like, Natalie is younger than me. There's an age gap there, and that's certainly something that I was nervous about before we got in a relationship. And I certainly knew that once we went public,
Well, love
opened the door for criticism and things like that. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I mean, again, like, I'm lucky enough to have her in my life,
nice.
and
that's pretty.
And
cool.
yeah, it's
It's pretty cool that the show, you didn't find the girl on the show, but the show found you, Natalie.
Yeah,
right. I mean,
yeah,
she
in a way,
she wouldn't have known about you.
She didn't ironically watch The Bachelor, but I think the algorithm might not have sent me to her Explorer page. Right. And I don't think I'd be taking like selfies.
Right. You wouldn't be at Equinox with a shave.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I kind of worked it. Yeah. I mean,
Tuesday leg day.
I'm grateful of my time on the show. I mean, everything I'm doing now is related to what I did on the show, not necessarily directly,
but
I know what
you mean.
I mean, I live
really
in LA.
nice.
I host a podcast. I was an accounting major.
What did they pay you for the book?
A decent amount. Yeah. Not enough. No, I don't know. Yeah.
You nervous about it? Excited? It's a lot to...
I'm more excited than nervous. I'm proud of it, right? I actually wrote the book. I never thought I could write a book. I'm dyslexic. I barely can read. I have no idea where commas go. And so when they asked me to write the book, I first thought it would be a coffee table book because I started doing this weekly series on Sundays, which is similar to like the podcast, but it's called Questions with Nick. So, in Instagram, they're like, ask me anything.
Yeah.
So I was like, this was, 4 or 5 years ago. And, like coming off the show, you're just like, I don't know, like I post selfies, and every time I post something about The Bachelor, I get great engagement. When I don't, and my fans are like, fuck off, we don't care about your real friends. And I was like, well, what can I do? Like, what do I like doing? What am I passionate about doing? And what's something I could do consistently? And I knew I was always the friend who, like, other people, I liked talking about relationships. I liked talking about social dynamics. I knew I had a knack for giving kind of like hard hitting but empathetic advice. So I just waited for people to start asking me relationship questions. I only answered that, and I kind of trained my audience to like ask those questions. And thankfully they started enjoying my answers. And so I've done that like every week for 4 or 5 years now. And so I have like thousands of these, because every time you post an Instagram story, it saves I have that setting. And so I went to my publisher Abrams and I'm like, listen, I got like thousands of these. And how about we like just make it into like a coffee table book, like a page turner, like quick Q&A stuff. Like you format it, make it look cute. Like it's already there.
Yeah.
And they're like, cool, but we want you to write a book. And I was like very clear. I'm like, well, I don't know if you realize what you're asking for, but they were very gracious and believed in me more than I believed in myself. So I started writing. It was brutal. I didn't really know what I was writing. I just kind of started writing topics, situationships. All right, I'll just write what I think about situationships or fuckboys or, defining a relationship and like shit I talk about on my podcast. And at first there was like 8 months in, I was like, I honestly had this conscious thought of like, I'm just going to give the money back.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think this is turning out.
I felt that way too when I got my book deal.
Yeah. And we find they're like, no, this is normal, blah, blah, blah. And so we put together the rough draft. And after we did that and I read it through, I was like, oh, I could see it now. I could kind of see the vision. Very rough and incomplete. Yeah. But from that point on, it became fun. And then obviously my editor was very gracious and they really helped me format the book and put it together and structure it.
Yep.
So I just kind of just wrote conscious stream of thoughts and wrote it down, and they did all the grammar and editing and things like that. But After it finished and I read it, I was like, this is way better than I thought it would turn out.
Good.
I never thought I would write a book, whatever people think of it. Like, I know I didn't embarrass myself.
Yeah.
I don't know how well it's going to do. I'm grateful that for the people who have had a chance to read it yet.
Guys,
we've given
go
it
buy
some
the
fans.
book. He's nervous about it.
They seem to
Please.
like it. So I don't know how well I'll do, but I like it.
It's going to do great. What's the title mean? Is that
Don't
from
text
a
your ex happy
story?
birthday? Yeah, it's like there's a part in the book that
Did you
talks about
text your
that.
ex on Happy Birthday?
I certainly have, yeah.
And would that turn out bad for you?
It wasn't great.
What
I just
happened?
reminded myself that she didn't want to be with me. Yeah.
What did she say?
Thanks.
It's a great title for that reason. Damn. What did you say? Just happy birthday? Or like, hey, I've been thinking about
It was
you?
the one that comes to mind was a long time ago, and I hope you're just having a really great day. You're like a really important.
I've been working on myself.
Thanks, you too. Take care. Like, well, fuck me.
All right, this is to text the worst.
Yeah, and then if you're the person who broke up with someone, you definitely shouldn't text them.
Yeah.
In that split second that they get the notification, and you're just like, oh my God, it's my birthday. They thought of me, and they're just like, happy birthday. You're like, oh, fuck me. But I could go into a little bit more detail.
That's
but
good.
Yeah, it's really the book is really just more about being honest with your choices and what your intentions are. And I have often felt stuck.
You have.
Yeah, in relation. Yeah, because you're just like, again, that conflict of giving into your ego and thinking that's what your heart wants and convincing yourself. And I'm a big believer that no one will lie to us more than ourselves. I mean, I ruminate a lot. We're often in our heads, so we have conversations with ourselves more than anyone else, and it's very easy to convince ourselves of things that we want in the short term. Just think about it. It's just like, should I eat this cookie? Sure. We're very convincing when we want things in the moment.
How'd you get so good at self-analysis?
Yeah.
And relationships?
It took me a while. Yeah. I made all the mistakes.
You did?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I had to fuck up a few times before I figured it out.
Were you like this way before The Bachelor? Were you always self-analyzing yourself and trying to make yourself better?
Well, after I was cheated on by my then fiance, that was a pretty crushing moment for me. I refer to it as the time I met my ego, which was just my kind of recognizing that I had one, and then thought about how that played a role in my choices. Uh-huh. Like thinking back, like that particular girlfriend, like I loved how we looked together. I thought, but I don't think we were compatible at all. And it took me a year and a half to come to that realization. And again, like we've all done that before. And so I think we often prioritize the wrong things for the wrong reasons. And so, yeah, when we do that, we can often feel stuck. It can be very confusing. Like, why do I want this but feel this? And like the heart and the mind kind of don't often add up. And so, yeah, that book's more just about that, just kind of trying to get unstuck of any situation. And sometimes the truth can hurt, but the truth truly does set you free in the sense that it gives you more power. It makes you more in control of your feelings. It allows you to deal with disappointment easier, and you might not get the outcome you want in the short run, but you will tend to get the outcome you deserve in the long run if you prioritize those things over your ego.
Are all your brothers and sisters like this too? Your mother and father taught you this, or are your mother and father still alive?
Oh, they are. Yeah, still together.
Still together?
I don't know. I think we're all very different. Yeah. Me and my siblings. I think I get a lot of my empathy from my mom. I get a lot of my analytical thinking from my dad.
What do they do? What's their job?
My dad. Well, my dad is now semi-retired and working for me, which is something I'm pretty proud of.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
What's he doing? Running your businesses and stuff?
He's doing odd end stuff for me.
Did you have an oils company or something?
Yeah, an essential oils company.
What's it called?
I'm getting events and Natural Habits essential oils.
Natural Habits.
And then I do some real estate stuff that he helps with that. He's a pretty handy guy. But ultimately, I just want him to enjoy my mom. And when I need something for him to do.
Isn't that the best?
Yeah, it's great. But prior to that, he's pretty blue collar. He worked for a printing company. He grinded it out. My mom, for the most part, was a stay-at-home mom. She now works for a local like family-owned shoe company, does some like accounting work for them, like that she really enjoys, but really blue collar.
Okay, so let's go back. So let's finish the Bachelor story. So So then you're done the first year. They ask you to go back again for another Bachelorette.
Yeah, I mean, they asked me after they caught wind that her and I had this kind of like online relationship in a sense that, a lot of people connect through
and Andy.
Me and Caitlin.
Oh, this is the second one.
The second one, yeah. I mean, listen, it's a traumatic environment, and so it's very easy to relate to people who have gone through it, and so pretty easy to connect. And we formed a friendship, via I think I slid into her Twitter DMs, and we started just talking about our mutual experience, and we were just kind of there for each other as friends, and that kind of took off from a romantic standpoint. And then they asked her to be the Bachelorette. I see. And then they kind of found out that we had been talking, and then they asked me if I wanted to shoot my shot, so to speak, and I said yes.
Right. And then what happened in that season?
I took second again.
You did?
Yeah.
And so take us, because your first story was so good. Take us down to that night where it's down to the 2 and you wake up that morning. What did you think that day?
That day I was a little bit more, I was confident for different reasons.
This is wild, man.
Because we had known each other, right? We had with Andy, wild. I didn't really know her outside the show. It was like, fuck, And with Caitlin, I very much did, and so we had a lot of off-camera time, and I was very like, hey, I don't give a fuck about the show. So if you don't pick me, just send me home now, right? So I trusted her that she would do that, but
she didn't send you home.
She did not. No. She brought me
so week by week, you're saying, send me home.
Send me home.
I don't care. I only care about you.
Yeah.
Basically. And what did she say to that?
She said, okay. But, she lived in a tough spot too. She ended up doing me a favor. That's one of those things that hindsight's 20/20.
Why was she in a tough spot?
Well, as a Bachelorette, you have to make a TV show,
So she wanted you there for selfish reasons, to make the show better.
Well, I think she genuinely cared about me, and how confused she was or not. But yeah, listen, it's
I get it.
It's a tough position to be in.
Yeah, if I'm out shooting a vlog and the funniest person wants to go home, or the best person wants to go home, no.
Yeah, it's tough. It's and so I woke up the day pretty confident, but I do remember, I know that, because at the time, the producers asking you questions like, you feeling confident, feel good, you're feeling really good.
Wait, tell me what the producers say. I love this.
They just ask you questions.
Like what?
Yeah. Well, they're just asking how confident you are.
How confident you are.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Well, at that time, I was like, hey, anything can happen, man. Fuck. I've learned that lesson. You're talking to a guy who was in the same position last year. I'm not going to fall for this shit.
Isn't that the best, your relationship with the cameraman on TV shows?
Yeah.
It's the absolute best.
Yeah.
Let's get this shit done, and they're micing you up.
And I enjoyed them, and I respected they have a job to do too. But I really put most of my trust in her.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't need to trust you guys. You have a job to do. So fuck you guys. Right. You're great. Love you guys. But not my job to trust you. It's my job to trust her. She brought me out there. She let me go through that whole speech. And then I got done. And then she, brought out the dagger, so to speak.
You give a speech in the end there where you're like, I love you. I says, why?
Yeah. They're like, well, I remember being like, well, I'm going to make her talk first. And they're like, sure. And she just stands there. I'm like, well, fuck it, I guess I'll go.
Right.
And she did, and ended it. But again, it's one of those things too. I remember being so mad at her, so mad, and I was very angry at her at the time, because all I could think about at the time was how you have no heart. I asked you not to do this to me.
Yeah.
I didn't need you to bring me. Yeah. I wasn't a part of your show. I was very very angry, and I remember
maybe she wasn't sure.
Yeah, I mean, either way, but at the time that was my thought, right?
Yeah.
And I remember just wanting to push her in the pool. We were standing right next to the pool, and I was like, "Don't push her in the pool."
Yo, this is great behind the scenes shit. This is crazy.
But yeah, I was just so mad. But here's the thing, though. Had she not done that to me, I wouldn't be sitting with you here today.
Yeah, right.
She gave me an opportunity to have one of my best moments, right? Because on that show, often people don't realize, and I didn't realize at this time, and the advice I'll give people on the show is, if you feel right, you're fucked. If you feel embarrassed, you're usually in pretty good shape. Wow. Because people want to see vulnerability, they want to see feelings, they want to empathize with you, they want to relate to your heartbreak. That's what makes you likable on that show.
Would you say you're an expert now doing it so many times?
On the show? Yeah, I mean, I guess. Sadly. I don't know. I don't wear that with a badge of honor, but...
I think what you said is really, really important. I can relate it to myself. I had a podcast with David. It was called Views.
Yeah.
And it was doing great. And he didn't want to do it anymore. And you know, I had to go do this. And it's been great. It's been like, you know, I've gone and done something on my own.
Yeah,
You know,
and so
it was hard.
you just never really know. Yeah,
you just don't know.
Yeah,
it's a really important lesson that.
Yeah,
it's so hard to
sometimes how you feel about a certain situation, you know, it's like a breakup, right? You break up, you're like, how could you do this to me? Time goes by, you realize it's like, hey, no disrespect, but thank God I'm not in that relationship, you know, like. But it's hard to realize that at the time, you know, you care about them, or you're just afraid of being alone or being single. Like, oh, I don't want to date again. Like, how embarrassing is it to get back on the apps? You'll have all these thoughts that really have nothing to do with whether you should be together or not.
Yeah.
So I'm actually incredibly grateful that Caitlin did that, or that she waited to the end. And despite my anger at the time, like, I truly wouldn't be sitting here today. I wouldn't have my show. I wouldn't have been The Bachelor.
Yeah, it forced you to go out and do everything. And what happened to her? Did she get married?
No, she's engaged now to someone who was also on The Bachelor, great guy named Jason. She's thriving,
but not the guy she picked that night.
No. They did date for a while though.
They did, and so now you go to Bachelor in Paradise.
I did,
right, and that is more. That what I would have imagined.
That's fun. Yeah,
it's just fun.
Fun. Yeah. Well, you know,
aren't you like competing with other guys and like?
Yeah, but at least there's like equal number of women and men.
Right.
And you're more hanging out, so it's very chill. Like, you know, on The Bachelorette, it's just you and dudes.
How do you win Bachelor in Paradise?
Pardon me?
How do you win that?
You find love.
Oh, that's it. People don't get eliminated.
Oh, they do.
Oh, they do.
But you know, find love or go home.
Do they form alliances?
Not really.
Well, how do you get sent home?
It's like a game of musical chairs. If the music stops and you don't have a chair,
I see.
You go home.
Oh, if you're not paired.
So every week there's either it's gender based. So
I've watched it too.
Every
I just
week,
don't remember.
It's okay. I'll remind you. Every week you have either the men or the women have the roses.
I see.
And the gender with the roses or the power that given week, there's less of that group. So if the women have the roses, there's like 6 women and 8 men. So the 6 women will give their roses to the 6 men, and the 2 men standing without a chair go home. Okay. And then they bring in new people, and then switch it. And then every week there's disproportionate number of men and women.
I gotcha.
But generally there's it's fun. It's like summer camp. I had a really good time.
And how'd that go? What happened?
I mean, they made me The Bachelor, so.
So what happened at the end of Bachelor in Paradise?
I was dating a woman named Jen, a wonderful person, but I broke up with her on the beach with a lot of tears and sadness. And
what's that like, to break somebody's heart like that?
It sucks, yeah. I think getting your heart broken or breaking someone's heart is equally as painful. Yeah.
What do you think's worse?
Getting your heart broken is definitely worse. You just feel very powerless. I mean, you feel sad when you break someone's heart, but and you still might mourn the loss of a relationship, but generally speaking, you believe it's the right thing for you. And when you get your heart broken, the first half of it is trying to accept that even though you believe that you should be with this person, they don't want to be with you, and you first have to accept that reality first. And that can be a huge step that the person who broke up with, while they may still have to heal, they've already accepted that part. That's why they broke up with you.
Yeah.
And so as tough as it is to break someone's heart and feel bad, getting broken up with and learning that you have to accept the fact that, and then your ego is all getting involved. Yeah. You're like, remember I said I love you? I don't want to be with you anymore. I don't know.
It's really tough, man.
Really, it's like, wow,
Okay, so now you're The Bachelor. You go in there. It's 30 women, right?
Yeah, I think
whatever
there
it was.
30 women, yeah.
So you go out there. The first time you see the 30 women, what's that like?
Very nerve-wracking. There's a lot of pressure. I really genuinely wanted to meet someone.
Right.
My thought was, how cool would it be to finally meet someone on this show? I'm like, fuck it, that would be great.
Yeah. Don't you know right away, if you're talking to these girls for the first time, can you immediately go, half of these people I'm not into?
I mean,
or do you not do that? Because I would think, I know within the first 5 minutes of talking to somebody.
It's a lot more than half.
Yeah. Oh. Right.
Yeah.
It is, right?
I mean, listen, walk into a bar on a Friday night. Are you in love with half the people there?
No. Right.
You know? Yeah, I knew pretty quickly who I was more drawn to.
Yep.
I think that, I mean, everyone's different, but...
Is that why you sent 3 girls home at one time?
I sent a lot of people home.
Why did you do that?
I wanted to be a little different. I wanted to communicate.
I think that's awesome. You were basically saying, I'm not going to waste your time.
Yeah.
You're gone.
It was really from a place more of empathy than harshness, even though I don't know if it was always received that way.
Right.
I just remember being sent home. Listen, when someone breaks up with you, you usually have the benefit of like, even though it doesn't do anything, of being like, so why not she like me? And then you get to hear and have them remind you of all the things they don't want to be with you, why they don't want to be with you. But at least it's just nice to like ask the questions. And on the show, you just don't get a rose, and they're like, see ya. And so I wanted to give the women I sent home as much as possible, at least the ones I was getting to know. I wanted to give them a proper goodbye. And so I wanted to have like the time to like explain to them why I was sending them home, as opposed to just not giving them a rose.
And how was that received by the producers and the audience?
Producers loved it.
They did.
The audience, mixed reviews.
Yeah.
You know, some people thought I was a little harsh.
Yo, that's bold.
Other people liked it. Either way, it seemed to make for good TV.
Right.
But it was definitely it came from a place of wanting to give the women the consideration I thought they deserved.
Yeah. Guys, quick reminder that you can get early access to all the podcasts and all my vlogs, exclusive vlogs, on my website, thenashnation.com. Right there. Yes, thenashnation.com. Go to the link in the description right now and sign up today, and you will not be disappointed. Okay, back to the video. Okay, and so then you got down to the end, and you had 2 girls to pick.
I did, yeah.
And what were you thinking then? Were you into them, or you're just still not sure?
I was very much into the woman I, at the time, got engaged to. I knew of my choice pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I had a lot of respect for Raven, who was, I hate to use the word runner-up, but
sure.
But at the time, and I said this on the show, I had a lot more empathy and related to Raven more than I related to Vanessa, because I was a 2-time runner-up. So I was like, fuck, I'm about to do the very thing that was done to me twice. So I was very careful during the whole process. I was very careful with my words, in the sense that, unfortunately, as a lead, just by how it's set up, like you're just kind of forced to lead people on, even if you're not trying to. This is how the show works. But I wanted it to make sense, you know, once I sent them home, because I remember being sent home both times and thinking things. Why would they say this to me? Why would this happen? Like, I don't understand. Like, they didn't have to say this. We didn't have to do this. And, like, it felt very cavalier with my feelings. And certainly I was as guilty as, you know, of leading them on, certainly at times. But I was very deliberate with the words I sent, so that, like, once they sent home and kind of got out of that bubble, it would make a lot of sense, especially after watching it back. And I felt pretty good about that fact. And I feel like after... You know, I've reconnected with all of them, and, you know, they're all...
What's an example of something you said that you felt maybe hurt in the moment, but you
felt good I certainly didn't express any, like, feelings offline about, like, being in love, and I decided only to be intimate with the woman I decided to pick.
Good for you. Keep it off. Yeah, keep it off there.
You know, little stuff like that, and I didn't try to do a lot of talking about the future. I didn't want to give any, like... You know, because I remember giving a lot of validation and credibility to, like, off-camera moments, you know? And so I didn't give any, like, off-camera moments to anyone but Vanessa at the time. I didn't, like, you know, squeeze their hand and give them a wink or stuff like this. And these little things that, like, the lead doesn't have to do, but does sometimes. Because at the time when it was happening to me, I was like, oh, they must be giving me a signal. You know, this is like, hey, you know.
I'm sorry, put the foot down there.
Sorry, I fidget.
I'm the same way.
And
what did
yeah,
they
so it was just little stuff like that. And again, like I didn't do it perfectly, and I'm sure at times I had to lead people on, but as much as I could, I tried to not.
Dude, it's impossible not to lead people.
Yeah,
on.
the show.
I mean, it's just like, and people draw whatever they want from your actions. You can say like, "Hey, you want some orange juice?" and people are gonna be like, "Oh, he likes me."
Yeah,
you know,
and that you can't control. But as much as I could, I at least try to be thoughtful, and I tried to put myself in their shoes because I had been in their shoes.
Yeah. So you didn't post anything after the show with the winner or anything like that, to protect the other person's feelings?
No, I definitely. I mean, at the time, once the show. I mean, at the time I was like, while filming, certainly, but once I was in the relationship, I was very much prioritizing the relationship.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think about social media in The Bachelor? You think it's kind of, is The Bachelor tougher now because of social media? Did things get leaked
I mean,
out?
everything's tougher because of social media. I mean, like you're talking to two people who rely on social media for a living, but at the same time, I do think it will be what ultimately ruins the world.
I feel that way too.
Yeah, I mean, like
I don't post anything about my girlfriend.
I think you know, like the movie The Matrix or Terminator 2.
Yeah,
like machines take over the world.
Yeah,
like I think that's happening.
Yeah, the AI is scary, isn't it?
We're already being brainwashed.
I know.
You know, I don't feel like we're really in control of our choices. Well, I have a whole chapter in there called "The Internet is Not Your Therapist."
Explain.
Well, I mean, the internet. We when we're sad, you know, go on TikTok. We're going on the internet and we're looking for answers, right? Because the internet is full of information. So like, hey, I need information. I'm sad. I'm hurting. Let's go look for answers. And you go on TikTok, and the algorithm fucks you up. But the internet is not a place that solves problems. The internet is a place that wants you to feel stuck, because the internet wants you to like get you fixated on the thing that you are fixated on and keep you there. Uh-huh. You know, the internet, they're trying to monetize your feelings, and so whatever feeling you're in, it's not there to help you. It's there to keep you in that state of mind. Mm-hmm. And
how often do you go on the internet?
Every day.
Constantly. I know, but do you limit it and stuff?
I try to, yeah.
Are you one of these people that wakes up in the morning and is like, I don't look at my phone for the first hour or stuff like that?
Oh, I mean, I've tried that. Yeah. I'm not good. Yeah. No, I'm not good.
It's tough because you have business and everything.
Yeah, it's tough. But I take mental, like, you know, for a while I'll be like on TikTok scrolling, and then there are times where like, as a consumer, I try to limit myself. For the most part, I'm on Twitter just because I'm a Packer fan, so I get a lot of my sports news from Twitter. But I do a pretty good job not like scrolling and things like that.
I don't read comments.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to. I'm not perfect, but I'm.
You were on TikTok the other day talking about Adam Levine, right?
I was, yeah.
You like weighing in on those things?
Do I like doing it? Not really, but it's kind of part of the brand, so to speak.
Yeah, you sort of have to.
It's an opportunity to, you know, listen, it was a relationship topic. It was topical.
Topic, yeah.
It's something I knew my audience would relate to. I mean, I was shocked by that post, because usually if you hit about 80%, in terms of like agree versus disagree, you're doing pretty good. Heck, if you go 60-40, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
But it seemed like I got like a
100%,
like a 99 like Rotten Tomatoes score on that post. But so that was alleviating.
Do we know? But we don't know if he has an open relationship or anything, right?
Well, that's something that people haven't considered.
Right.
We don't know. Is it that crazy to think that Adam Levine and his wife might have a non-traditional relationship that maybe they just don't want to like come out and say for fear of judgment of say people who are a little bit more traditional?
Yeah,
that's also possible. In fact, that would not shock me.
It's so funny. I was watching this piece on Nightline once, and it was this woman who was a reporter. I think her name is like Juju Chang or whatever, and she's just very like ABC reporter, probably, you know, went to like a great school, and just like, and she was doing a story on people who make porn. They live stream porn. So that's a story about porn, blah, 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 blah. And she was like so judgmental. And I was like, well, yeah, of course you think that, Juju Chang, who probably went to a great school and like, you know, lives a normal life or whatever, but it's normal for them, you know?
Yeah.
And I just think the way the media portrays things, it's just, It's really fucked up, you know?
Yeah, we're there's a lot of stone throwers out there.
Yeah.
You know, and we like to project and like to judge, you know, and usually we're projecting and judging ourselves, and it's just easier to put that on other people rather than look in the mirror. But yeah, I mean, I'm not a big, as someone who has been cheated on, I don't have a lot I have some harsh, you know, I think it's a low character thing to do. You know, you can have your reasons to be sad and unhappy in a relationship, but you also can choose to leave. But again, as far
What
as
do you think about that? If somebody cheats on you, but you still love them, you think it's okay to stay with them?
okay, I mean, I think it's a risk. Yeah.
A risk for why? Because they'll do it again? Or a risk
Well,
because you're not
I would-
valuing yourself?
Yeah, I mean, you gave that person your heart, and part of relationships is having trust, and they took that trust and violated that trust, right? People make mistakes, sure, but that's a big mistake to make, and it's just hard to recover from. I mean, there's people who, like, you can want to forgive someone all you want, but, like, it's just sometimes easier said than done. And I often say, like there's, like, just everyone has their reasons for cheating, but, like, that doesn't make it a justification. You know, and I think people often confuse the two.
Right.
Because I mean, you know, I was sad. You didn't pay attention to me. We stopped having sex. Like, you stopped taking care of yourself. Like, there's all these other options as opposed to cheating. But
my girlfriend said that to me the other day. She's like, well, if I cheated on you, what'd you do? And I go, I don't know. I'm like,
she asked that.
I'm like, I love you. I'd probably stay with you.
You would.
Yeah. And she was like, you would? She's like, no. She's like, you would? You shouldn't do that. And she explained it to me, and I never thought about it before. And I was like, oh, right. I guess I get it. I understand it now.
Well, I think...
Because it's like, you're not...
1 second.
No, we need that. That's perfect. It's a hot podcast.
Yeah.
Wait, what were we talking about? Oh, we were talking about cheating, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting, right?
Well, yeah, because I mean, you know, talk about, like, Adam, like, non-traditional relationships or maybe open relationships or things like that. I'm not into that, and Natalie and I don't participate in that. But at the same time, I understand the logic behind it, and I do think it's amazing what couples are able to do if you are really good at setting expectations and boundaries. Because I think there's nothing more important in a relationship than trusting that your partner will respect whatever boundary you set. So, like, whatever it is, you know, like, hey, I need you to respect this boundary, you know? And so that's why, like, I have friends, couples who are in open relationships, and some of the healthiest relationships I've seen.
That doesn't sound good.
Well, you'd be surprised. And I only say that because what they have is total communication and total trust. Like, they know, A, that the partner loves them, and 2, that whatever they ask the partner to do, their partner will respect that boundary. So, like, if you're going to do this, I need you to check in with me, and if I say I'm not comfortable with that, I know you're not going to do it.
Right.
You know, and I think it's really just about trust. It's less about the sex or the intimacy and more about the trust. And I think it's kind of fascinating to see couples who participate in these kind of non-traditional relationships. Just because if you're good at it, they are really good at communicating. They're really good. There's a ton of trust there. Mm-hmm. And I think it just speaks to the power of having trust and communication. And if your partner says, I need you to not do X, Y, or Z, and, like, this is a boundary that I need you to not cross, and, like, okay, and then they have trust that they're going to do that, I think couples are really capable of doing some, like, incredible things.
Yeah.
And putting up, or not putting up with, but, like, participating in things that other people might find exciting, but, like, there's no way I could do that, you know? Yeah. Because a lot of people don't communicate. They don't want to talk about difficult problems.
That's me.
It's more like, you know what, that's, like, awkward, so I'm just going to avoid doing that. Yeah. And then so instead of checking in and asking your partners how that makes them feel, or how could I do better, how could we respond, we just answer the questions for ourselves. And since we're not mind readers, we often get it wrong.
Right. What's something your current girlfriend's taught you, Natalie?
What has she taught me? Well, one thing she teaches me every day on how to be more present. I'm not very good at being present.
You're not?
No.
What are you doing?
just thinking?
I'm thinking. Yeah. I'm always thinking about what's the next move.
Yeah.
You know, what's the next problem I have to solve.
You have to.
I struggle with it. Yeah, big time.
I'm in the same boat. I have my kids, and I'm always like, fuck, I gotta be here.
Yeah,
now.
She's very good at that. She's very good at being present, and she's very good at making people feel seen and validated, and she's really considerate. I like to think I'm considerate in my own way, but she has a lot of strengths where I have weaknesses, and it's always nice.
Yeah, I really like my girlfriend. She's so positive. It's almost annoying.
Yeah.
I'll be driving in traffic. This is so fucking annoying. She'll go. I'll go. Fuck. I'm sorry. I'll be like, God, this fucking traffic. She's like, I like the traffic.
That would annoy me too.
What?
That would annoy me too.
Yeah, she's like, I like it. It's more time we're getting together.
There you go.
It's so funny.
But listen, she sounds like she has perspective.
Yeah. I think
it is nice, and I've learned that too. Like, there's definitely multiple ways to look at any one given situation.
Right. Let's finish The Bachelor. So you go home, you pick the girl. Who did you end up picking for the final?
Her name is Vanessa. Her name is Vanessa.
Her name.
She's still with us.
She's dead to me now.
Yeah.
Did the producers manipulate a lot of stuff on there?
Not as much as people like to think.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, they're producers. They're producing. What the producers do is they encourage you to express whatever you're feeling in the moment. I refer to them as the friend who wants you to buy the boat. You know? It's like, should I buy the boat?
Yeah.
And now a good friend might say, well, let's walk through this decision.
Think about it.
Is it really a good investment? I don't know. And there's other friends who be like, fuck yeah, you should. Because they,
that's awesome.
want to go wakeboarding.
Fun.
And it's fun. And they're not really worried about your long-term situation. But in the moment, it definitely feels good. So they're just that angel on your wing that like makes you feel okay to react in the moment in your most authentic way.
So you're like, I'm going to send 3 girls home, and the producer's going, fuck yeah, Nick, let's do it.
They actually, they do at times will have your best interest in mind. I've gotten good advice from them.
Yeah.
They have steered me the right way many times. They have steered me the wrong way. They have allowed me to dig my own grave in the past. Listen, I think we are in control of our choices. That's the one thing we have control over. And so me and my peers might feel differently about this, but like, I didn't have a gun to my head. Ultimately, the choices I made were my choices. I made them as an adult. And I would rather just take ownership of those choices rather than put the blame on other people, even if maybe they could have given me better advice. It just, for me, it helps me feel more in control of my choices. And so, and also again, it's just very easy to complain and blame someone else, like a producer on a TV show. I find it very fascinating on that show that when people look good, they're never saying, well, that was because the producers made me look good, or they gave me Prince music, like, they played like romantic, not Prince the musician, but like Prince music in the background. Music plays a very big role on how you see people.
Yeah.
No one's offering credit to the show. And I truly believe that more people are made to look better than they are than worse on that show.
Can they make anyone look like a villain?
Yeah.
They can.
Yeah. Well, it's just everything's overly simplified. Just recently, there was a guy in the most recent finale. It sounds like he might have cheated on Rachel, and I think he kissed a girl. And I'm not saying that's not a big deal, and that's not wrong. But Bachelor Nation, treated him like he killed somebody.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's edited to be reactive. They edit it like it's a sports show. And just like I am a Packer fan. I like sports. Not only do I love the Packers, I love hating the Vikings. And so listen, I'm very thankful for the fandom that is Bachelor Nation. I'm thankful for their passion, but with that passion comes some challenges. And I've just learned to accept that. but it's not without its hardships, and again, people are identifying with the behavior, right? You watch a show, and usually your people you like the most are someone that like reminds you of yourself or has lived through an experience that you've had to live through, and when someone's wrong that you identify with, you get very triggered, and it feels like you're going through that situation, and that's how they get people. I mean, they do a great job of keeping people invested.
What's that feeling like when they like? What's the first time you come out of Times Square and they like announce you and people scream for you?
That's great.
Did you like it?
Yeah, yeah. I feel like a rock star. Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, it's very. They've given me some really cool experiences that I'll never forget. And people cheering for you is a wild feeling. It's
fun, right?
Yeah,
yeah. But it's also like
it's dangerous.
It's also really dangerous.
Yeah, it's a literal drug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It's just a great way to get that dopamine hit without ever digesting anything, and it's hard to replicate.
Okay, so when you finish, you finish The Bachelor, you get engaged, and then I think the question I always wanted to ask was, you know, you're in these exotic locations, and then you get to the real. I don't know. You move into back to your apartment in Chicago. Where do you go? You go back to LA?
I was in LA at the time. After the show ended, she moved in with me. It's a challenge. Yeah, you're definitely set up for failure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it like, oh shit, we're in reality?
Yeah, I mean, part of it is, listen,
I gotta take the trash out.
You get engaged, and then you have to start the relationship long distance, because by the time when you get engaged, then airing doesn't start right away. So there's like a month you can't really hang out. So they do these happy couple. You see each other every other week for like weekends, but you're locked in a house, and that's also kind of sucks. So yeah, you're starting a relationship with a lot of stress points, and then the show starts, and now you have to watch each other make out with other, that shit, which it's easy to say, oh, well, it was a show, but like, it's just hard to do, right? And then you have to deal with like,
that's crazy. She'll call you and be like, you made out with her? What? Wait, I didn't know that, right? Yeah. Is that what happens?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of that. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Or I thought you told me you knew me. I thought you told me you knew right away. And you're like, I did, babe. Well, you're telling this girl, and I'm like, yeah, well,
Nick,
I don't know what to say.
That is fucking awful.
Yeah, and so it's just like, I really have a lot of empathy for everyone in that situation. It's tough. And then the show starts, and then, people have their opinions and comments, and it's hard to, it's a really impossible situation. So I give a lot of credit to people who have made it work, because it's not easy to do. And yeah.
And then it just eventually it didn't work out.
It just didn't work out.
Yeah. Great. And then you met Natalie.
And then I met
soon after that.
Yeah, a couple years after that.
What did you go? Who's this? Was there like a really cool celebrity that like hit you up in the DMs once you were The Bachelor or anything like that?
I briefly dated January Jones.
I did. I read that. Yeah.
Great
She's
person.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Great on Mad Men too.
Yeah.
I love that.
Just a good person. Yeah. Right? So I got to.
Wait, didn't that start out where she was?
She basically like dared me to ask her out on James Corden. So I did.
And you just DM'd her?
Yeah.
Good man. All right. Yo, dog. Right on.
Thanks.
Good work. All right. So we have a couple of games. Google's most searched.
Okay. Wow. I've never done this. What Nick Viall?
Why don't you peel it off, Nick?
I peel it off?
Yeah.
What season was Nick Viall on? 4 of them.
We already talked about that. We probably should have did this at the top. This is awkward.
It's okay. How to pronounce Nick Viall? Yeah, Viall.
I've said it wrong the whole show.
I say it wrong sometimes.
Viall.
It's listen, I'm from the Midwest, so if I'm not like trying to enunciate, which I didn't give any thoughts to before I was ever on TV, it just actually often comes out as like Viall.
Viall, yeah. Have you ever thought about doing like a Rob Dyrdek type show called Viall? I
probably should. Yeah, I think I would have changed my last name if I had the choice now.
What is that? What's the last name? Is it
apparently it's like French.
French. Oh yeah, you look kind of French. When did Nick Viall
get tattoos? Not too long ago, actually.
How many tattoos you got?
Some now.
Do you really?
I have a lot of siblings, and I always wanted to get a tattoo that told a story about each one. And
oh my God, all 11?
I worked for the man for a long time,
yeah.
And so I was always afraid. Not afraid, but like I just, I don't know if I was like should do like I never wanted to get one. you know?
Yes.
And
You got a tattoo for your 10 brothers and sisters?
Yeah.
You have one for each of them? That's so sweet. Do they like that, or are they like, Nick, you freak?
You know, somewhere in the middle. I don't think they really gave a shit.
I said that to my kids once when they were younger. I was like, I'm going to get your names tattooed. And they were like 7, 9 years old. They were like, don't do that. And then they told their mother, and she was like, what are you saying? And I was like, I don't know. I thought it would be sweet.
Yeah, it is sweet.
And everyone was against it.
Yeah, but I got my first one a year and a half ago.
Okay. Let's show us one.
This is my dog, Jeff.
Jeff? Oh, what kind of dog is it?
He's essentially a golden doodle.
A golden doodle.
Yeah.
What is Nick Viall doing now?
Talking to you.
People always say that.
How old was Nick Viall on The Bachelor? I started when I was 33. When I was The Bachelor, I was 36.
Hell yeah. Prime of life. Prime of your life. Here we go.
The relationship died in a fiery car crash. Yeah.
Well, read it, Nick.
What happened with Nick Viall and Andy Dorfman? We broke up. Yeah.
All right.
What happened on Nick Viall's season? A lot.
Would you go back to The Bachelor? Oh, you have a girlfriend. Never mind.
Yeah. I'm either way. Nah.
Just kidding. Would she let you go back?
I doubt it. Yeah. But she has told me if I cheat on her that she will go on the show for revenge. And when she gets out of the limo and they're like, why are you here? She will say revenge,
yeah.
which I'm waiting for that to happen.
I love that.
I would love someone to get out of the limo and be like, why are you here? Revenge. I just want to piss off my boyfriend.
What a great story.
I'd respect that.
What does this one say? I can't read it.
Who did Nick Viall propose to Bachelor in Paradise? Nobody.
All right.
Who has Nick Viall dated? Too many people.
January Jones.
Who is Nick Viall dating now? Natalie Joy.
Wonderful.
What does Nick Viall's girlfriend do? She's a surgical technologist
What is
and
that?
model.
What is it? And a model?
She assists doctors in surgery. She's their right-hand person, right-hand woman. Her job is to kind of read their mind and give them the tools that they need.
She must come home completely stressed.
No, she likes it. She
Good?
enjoys it. Yeah.
That sounds like a stressful job.
I mean, at times.
Saving lives?
Yeah, she's...
I mean, I know we're saving lives here with this
Truly,
podcast,
yeah.
you
But
know.
she's been a part of some incredible of surgeries that have quite literally saved people's life. She resuscitated someone at work once.
Do you remind her of the lives that you've saved?
Always.
Being on The Bachelor?
Every day. Yeah. I
Don't let her forget, Nick.
I don't. I want her
What-
to know
what
that I
we
do
do
very important things.
It's very important.
Yeah. Yep.
I got a DM today. Somebody has depression who watches the podcast, and they told me they feel better. So
Yeah. I mean, I do get
don't
the
play
occasional-
small, Nick.
I do get the occasional very sentimental note, which I appreciate.
Don't you wish you had the balls to or don't you wish you were skilled to save lives? Like, wouldn't that be cool? Like if you're like a firefighter or something.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
It's like when I see military people.
Tons of respect. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always like, oh, thank you for your service. Thank you so much.
Not everyone can be a hero.
I wish I was brave, you know. One time I was in first class, and there was an empty seat next to me, and a woman came up. The stewardess comes up. She goes, "So sorry to bother you, Mr. Nash." She goes, "There's a serviceman in the back, and we were wondering if it would be okay if he came up and sat here for the second half of the flight, the seat next to me."
You said no.
I said no. Yeah. I said no.
It's a low character moment for you, Jason.
I said, my backpack is on this seat. No, he came and sat next to me. Of course I said yes. Imagine I said no. No, I don't know. I'd rather not. That'd be funny. Okay, this is a couple more games. Here we go. All right, this is Never Have I Ever with Nick Viall. Here we go. Never have I ever said I love you when I didn't mean it. Oh, Jess, that's a good one. I've done that in relationships.
Yeah.
I've been there way too soon. I love you. Oh shit.
I really I have some weaknesses. There's some things that I definitely aren't good.
Well, that's
I'm not
good.
good at, but I'm honest to a fault, for better or worse.
Yeah. You know what those 3 words mean.
I just
and
remember
you don't throw it around.
I just remember being in high school, even I like you. I just learned pretty early in life that if I'm just honest with people,
God, you know what?
they might be a little shocked at first, but then they go, well, now I know where I stand.
So simple, guys. Listen to it. You had such a good upbringing. I blame my father for who I am.
And I give credit to my parents.
Can I meet your parents?
Yeah, they'd love to meet you.
Can I go on a hometown date?
Please, yeah.
Can we
I'll
go
just let them know you're gonna stop by. I won't even be there. I'm like this.
Yeah, I don't need you there.
Yeah, just say hi, invite them in.
It's pretty fucking cool you're on The Bachelor, man.
What
a ride.
Something. It was a ride.
What a ride.
It was a ride.
Wild. All right. Never have I ever stood up a date.
Yeah.
Look at you. Perfect. Good looking. What's your body fat percentage? 5%?
I don't know.
I
One
took
day, it used to be.
I'm not gay, but I took a look at you with the shirt off last night.
I take pride.
Good
Yeah.
job.
I like looking good naked.
How do you stay so lean?
What?
How do you stay so lean?
I work out every day a little bit. Everything in moderation. Also, I like jeans.
Do you eat Doritos late at night?
No. I have only eaten Cheetos today.
Cheetos or Doritos? Which one?
Cheetos.
Right on. Never have I ever had sex in a public place. Right on. Right on, man. Where was it?
One time we were driving on the freeway.
Right on.
I was driving.
Is that public?
I wasn't inside.
Mile High Club?
And then parks. I mean, I lost my virginity in public.
How many of the girls on The Bachelor did you have sex with?
Not as many as you'd think.
Fantasy suite. What goes on?
More talking than anything.
More talking than anything.
Yeah.
I think that would be hard to have. If you're on the show, you start having sex with people, that probably is fucking really problematic, right? Because then they go and tell, we had sex. And then if you have sex with more than one, right? Bad.
It can backfire. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Never have I ever had a threesome. Well, that's a good one. Okay. Good answer. Sure, Nick. A guy of your looks and caliber hasn't had a threesome. We believe you.
It's not a lie detector test.
It is now.
Either way.
Your Converse is shaking right now. You can't see it off camera. This guy is lying. I'm standing next to him, and I'd fuck him. Okay, here we go. That'll be funny in post, even though no one laughed. I promise.
I laughed.
Thank God. Never have I ever used a dating app. Have you gone on there since you've been famous?
I was on Raya for a minute.
For Raya, yeah. I went on a date on Raya once, and the girl, her mom died that day, and she went on the date.
Oh, yeah. How'd that work out?
Fucking horrible.
Yeah.
I was like, are you sure you want to be here? She was like, she passed away. I was like, why are you
dark?
Here? Why are you here?
But you said yes.
She came. She told me at the bar. We were at over on across from the Scientology Center. Oh, that's what it was.
There you go. That giveaway.
Never have I ever regretted a tattoo.
Not yet.
Good. Never, except for your sister.
No, I still love her.
You love your sister. Okay, whatever. Never have I ever dumped someone over text. No, you wouldn't do that. Nick.
I have never.
Okay, good.
Did I not?
We don't do that here at Viall Nation. Viall Nation. We don't do that here. You've been so perfect so far. I mean, the last question, have you ever murdered someone? You're like, I have.
Ooh, define murder.
Never have I ever stolen something.
I think technically I have, yeah.
What'd you steal?
A bag of potato chips. I took 2 and I paid for 1.
Was this yesterday?
No.
Okay, good. Never have ever been kicked out of a bar.
But I did. I just want to say,
please.
I one time went to an ATM in college while I was poor. I think that's an important reference point.
Yeah.
And it gave me too much money. And I gave it back.
You gave it back?
I gave it back.
How? You went to the bank?
I just gave it to the cashier.
Is this guy real? I mean, it's unreal.
You wouldn't?
I want to date him.
I believe in karma, and not to sound like all righteous and shit, because again, I made a lot of mistakes, but I really prioritize my character as much as I can.
Good. I'm going to start doing it.
Yeah.
I'm going to start prioritizing my character. I'm going to learn how to say the word prioritize.
I found a wad of cash like a year ago and gave it to a homeless guy.
That's good.
Why not?
Guys,
I wasn't poor then either, so like that felt extra easy.
Right. Well, you're a good person. We had Julie Bowen in here last week. What a piece of shit.
Who?
From Modern Family. Have you met this woman?
Oh, I'm sure she's lovely.
Oh, the worst. Terrible. No, she couldn't have been nicer. It's our best podcast. I just like saying that. Ferris, please keep that in. I want Julie to know. Here we go. We're almost done. Never have I ever been kissed a celebrity.
I have.
Oh yeah, you've January Jones. Hot stuff. Never have I ever created a fake Insta to stalk an ex. Nick wouldn't do that.
I've created a fake Insta. Not to stalk an ex.
I've created a fake Insta too. Yeah.
But not to stalk an ex. So
not
like,
to stalk an ex. Yeah. Well, why? Just to like.
Just to have it.
Yeah, okay. Never have ever been to a nude beach. Oh, I like that one.
It's never what you want.
I know, right? It's never what you want. No. It's always somebody who's like 70.
Yeah, it's
two 70-year-olds.
It's all as bad naked as Jerry Seinfeld would say.
Yeah. It's never what you want. Okay, here we go. This is rapid fire questions. This is the last thing we'll do, and then you're gonna go home. What? The show has only ever had 2 female leads at the same time twice, but not males.
Yeah.
What? No, I like it unnatural. Why do you think?
Sound like you care, Jason.
Why do you think that is? Do you think we'll see that in the future? I do care. I mean, I know the answer, I think, but go ahead. I
think we'll see in the future? Anything's possible. Eventually they'll do it because they haven't done it.
They do it because people like to see 2 girls fight? Compete? Is that why?
I really don't think that's why they did it this season. I think it was because they had a compelling story for both of them. And they hadn't done that in a while, so they figured, why not? I think this season was a perfect example as to like why they don't do it, because you have that much less time to get to know someone. It's just like, it kind of ruins the experience for everyone.
Yeah, I would think. I'm old school Bachelor.
But I would love to see 2 men fight and feel insecure about themselves. You know, they'll eventually do it.
I think they'll do it.
I don't think they'll do it anytime soon, but they'll do it eventually.
They'll do everything eventually.
Yeah.
They'll have like an alien on there.
Yeah. But I don't think it's because of why. Yeah. Maybe in the past they might have done that, but I think specifically this time around, I think the story made the most sense.
Are you happy, Jess? Did you get the answer you wanted? They were? Okay. Margarita, salt or no salt?
I'm not a big margarita fan.
Forget it.
Okay, sorry. Salt.
Nah, fuck it. I'm not a big... You live in California. You don't go out for margarita. Do you drink?
Sometimes, yeah.
You're not a big drinker.
I'm more of a marijuana guy.
Okay. Bachelorette or Bachelor in Paradise?
Paradise.
Wonderful. Kid Rock or Kid Leroy?
I don't know who Kid Leroy is.
Then I guess it's Kid Rock.
I guess.
Lil Pump or Lil Peep?
Pump?
I'd say Peep. All right. You came from 10 brothers and sisters. On a scale of 1 to 10, how horny was your dad?
Probably 11.
Probably 11.
They called him Thumper.
Did they really?
Yeah, guys at work.
That's a lot of kids.
It's a lot of kids.
It's kind of nice, though.
It's less condoms than more kids, you know?
Yes. I would have like 7 kids if I was rich. But it's just so expensive.
Do you have kids?
I have 2, yeah.
2.
2's great.
Do you like them?
No, not at all.
It's the worst.
No, they're the best. Yeah. Wyatt and Charlie, they're the best. 13 and 16.
That's awesome.
They're fucking amazing. Coolest. Okay. On our last podcast, Julie Bowen talked about vagina time. What is vagina time?
Probably some sort of, masturbation technique.
No, Nick, gross. Get your mind out of the
gutter.
Weird? It's time with her kids.
Is it?
Yeah, vagina time. It means she's working, and then she's like got to go drive the kids to school. She calls up Nick.
Weird.
Jeez.
I'm gross.
Favorite movie of all time?
True Romance, I usually say.
Ooh, no one ever says that.
It's a great movie.
It is a good movie. It's really good.
Fight Club's up there.
Fight Club.
What about Bob? Is like up there.
Bob is great.
Shawshank Redemption. That's kind of The Fugitive.
Notebook.
Notebook's good.
Yeah. Favorite vacation destination? What's your favorite place you went
Hawaii.
to? Hawaii. Me too. We should go. Best pro tip for future bachelors?
Don't do it.
Right on. Thoughts on the grown woman? Thoughts on the grown woman from The Bachelor who had a nanny?
Love it for her.
Love
yeah.
it for her. Okay.
I mean, that's
When I
got,
heard
got
that-
her to hometowns.
When I watched that, I was like, she's not going on national TV saying that she has a nanny.
Yeah, she's a legend.
Whether it's true or not, people are going to hate you.
Well, it worked out for her. Yeah,
What happened to her?
she made it to hometown. She was on my season.
She went to hometowns?
Yeah, because I wanted to meet the nanny.
How was the nanny?
Lovely.
So she really did have a nanny.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, she had.
No, I get it. It's somebody who was her nanny that kept working for the family.
Yeah.
But people,
She just leaned in.
that's funny. Last celebrity you texted?
Well, I like to consider my girlfriend a celebrity.
Right on. Natalie
yeah.
Joy.
Natalie Joy.
that
Billy Eichner, I guess. Well, I
Wait, you
DM'd
know
him.
Billy-
I
you
just
know
had
Billy
I
Eichner?
just had him on my podcast. Yeah,
Oh my God, he's so funny.
it was
The
incredible.
movie's so good.
Yeah, awesome.
So it's so good. Okay. Do you owe a lot of your success to the fact that you look like Ryan Reynolds?
Probably. Yeah.
Is bad breath the dirty secret of The Bachelor?
Yeah.
People have bad breath.
White wine breath. It ferments.
How come you had all these hometown dates and never took them to the hometown buffet? Missed opportunity, I think.
Correct. Yeah. That's why I ended up alone.
Last question. Ever thought of turning Bachelor Nation into its own political party?
They would probably win.
You could run. Would you ever run for office?
No.
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 Right on.
I wouldn't consider myself to be. Yeah. There's other people more suited for
Yeah.
that.
Well, listen, man. You're a very impressive person.
Likewise.
I think I left here today. I learned a lot. I'm gonna take care of myself. I'm gonna hold my morals up high. I'm gonna check my ego. I'm gonna read this book. Guys, this is the book. Go get it. Don't text your
I'd
ex.
love to know what
Happy birthday.
I would really love to know what you think.
Oh, I'll read it.
It's an easy read.
I'm gonna need a magnifying glass, but I'll read it because I can't read the print.
It's definitely for guys
Good
too.
for guys.
I think so. I would challenge men to be more open to read this type of stuff.
Yeah, I would too. I would challenge all the guys out there to be more open, to not end up like me, 49 years old,
Yeah.
still figuring out what a good relationship is. You know, it's kind of sad.
Don't be like your heroes.
Don't be like me
Yeah.
and be like Nick. But I do think you're a very impressive person, and I am.
It's very generous of you.
I'm really
I
happy.
come with a lot of flaws. Yeah.
You what?
Said I come with a lot of flaws too.
I didn't see any today. What are they?
I'm obnoxious. I interrupt. I don't close cabinet doors.
You don't what?
Close cabinet doors. I interrupt a lot.
You monster.
I don't pay
close
attention
cabinet
very
doors.
well. Yeah.
No, you're doing a good job, man. I'm glad. I'm happy for you.
Likewise.
I know you're going to go on to even bigger things, and you always have a friend here with me, and
It's a pleasure having gotten to know you, and I hope
Thank
to
you.
see more of you in the future.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
Put her there, man. Okay. Thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
Nick Viall, everybody. Go check out the book. Thank you for watching the podcast. Go check out his podcast, Viall Files, right here on YouTube. You can watch it right on there. And maybe I'll be a guest on there. So you had Tinks on. I really like her.
Yeah.
She was
Are
great.
you coming on?
Yeah, they gave me a date, and then
We'll figure it out. But
they
eventually.
gave me a different date. But I'm October 17th. I'll
October
be on Nick's
17th.
show.
That's when you're filming. So then it will air October 19th or 20th.
October 19th, I'll be on Nick's show. So look for it. Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.